Hello and welcome to this video introduction to the Gluware test drive. In this video we're going to cover the test drive itself and also provide you an introduction to the Gluware Intelligent Network Automation solution. To register for the test drive, go to gluware.com/test-drive. To see the current use cases available, go to gluware.com/test-drive-overview. So a quick agenda and overview here. We're going to cover the goals and objectives of the test drive itself. We're going to provide a short introduction to the Gluware Intelligent Network Automation platform, run through the apps, the Gluware intent-based apps and use cases that we're going to cover in the test drive, quickly run you through the environment setup so you're familiar with how we're set up behind the scenes, cover what administrative tasks that have already been completed for you so you're able to hit the ground running with the test drive, and cover what's next. So the test drive. What we're intending to do here with the test drive is to provide a rapid and turnkey online system to get users started quickly using and experiencing what Gluware is able to do for you. So with that, we're providing a guided, hands-on experience to use Gluware, and you're led by video tutorials that guide you along with using a live system. So we're going to be showcasing many of the applications and use cases. However, there are limitations we had when getting started. So we're looking at expanding the number of vendors, expanding the number of test cases. So check back often to see what additional use cases and vendors have been added. So the goal is also to streamline a user's evaluation process, to understand if Gluware is the right fit for you and your company to meet your requirements. And then finally, to progress the user knowledge so they're ready for advanced use cases. We kind of consider the Gluware test drive today as it stands as kind of a level 100, get introduced to the system, and certainly there's many more layers of complexity and additional use cases we can tackle with the solution. So we look forward to moving you forward quickly, building off the knowledge you gain in the test drive. So a quick overview of the Gluware Intelligent Automation platform is I'll first kind of draw your attention towards the middle section of this diagram, which is Gluware Control. And Gluware Control is a pure software solution that's made up of an intelligent orchestration engine and then applications that are intent-based apps that use that intelligent orchestration engine to provide automation for that lower level, that lower layer there, the customer network, made up of routers, switches, firewalls, load balancers, WAN optimizers, wireless LAN controllers, and the growing list of devices that we're going to have and will continue to onboard in the system. The really heart and soul of the application is that intelligent orchestration engine. It is built so that it can read and write to the various underlying platforms. And so there's a vendor adapter layer that we're at roughly 16 vendors today and over 20 operating systems that the Gluware Intelligent Orchestration Engine can read and write to. And so with that, when we read from the network layer, we convert that information into data models that then provide automation. So we are a data model based platform, but the differentiation here with Gluware is that we data model on the fly. We're able to data model information we read from the network layer, including the device information and even the configuration information and state information. As we read it into the platform, we're able to wrap data modeling around it on the fly and then provide automation. So now moving up towards our intent-based application layer, again, I'm going to run through each of these separately, but just to know that this is the application layer where Gluware provides more of a turnkey pre-built capability so users don't have to build it themselves. Gluware is built for network engineers and network operators to get started very quickly automating lifecycle tasks for your network. So Gluware Control is the primary platform that has the integrated device manager we'll talk about. There's an application config, drift, and audit, an application for operating system upgrade, downgrade, patch management, config modeling for configuration management, and workflows to provide that business layer or like wizard style steps to provide abstraction over commonly executed operational tasks. On the top, what customers bring into Gluware are your IT operational policy, your definitions, your policies, and compliance. So for example, in Audit, you can define your own company policy audits for compliance. On the config modeling side, you can bring your own network design, bring your own configuration, and Gluware will provide automation of your config across your network. So we're going to get into that. And then finally, Gluware is very API centric. Both our platform is API based, as well as we have the Glue API to let you interact with Gluware programmatically if you would like to as well. So it's third-party applications and integrations we can perform, like speaking to ITSMs like ServiceNow, or third-party other automation platforms when you have kind of that tapestry of automation. And you can learn more about that on Gluware.com. So that's kind of the quick overview of the Gluware platform itself. Let's jump down into the intent-based applications. So as mentioned, each of these intent-based apps leverage or drive the orchestration engine to perform read and write various operations across the network. So in that very first step with Gluware Control, you onboard or define the devices that Gluware is going to be managing. Gluware Control then executes a dynamic discovery and pulls that device information into the system, and then you're off and running in terms of what you can do next in terms of moving on to drifts and audits, operating system management, or configuration management, or more. So each of the intent-based apps leverage that common orchestration engine, and each provide that benefit and serve various use cases. So let's take a look at Gluware Control and break down what it provides. First, again, this is being the main framework. This is where you perform administrative tasks. We're going to cover that in a bit in terms of what we've already done for you. But you define your organizations or your tenants, you define your users, you manage your software, and then using the integrated device manager, you then can execute things like a real-time inventory, capture very specific information from the devices, like operating system versions, serial numbers, SKUs, and then execute assessment. We have integrated third-party APIs with Cisco, so you can pull things like end-of-life, end-of-sale, PCERT, which are security advisories that have been issued, SmartNet status, and there's even more integration as you get further into the Gluware application. And then you have the advanced grid features and functions to sort and understand that data you've pulled from the network. So to summarize it, on a couple points I jumped over. One is Gluware can be cloud-based or on-prem. For the test drive, we're going to be using an on-prem based system that's installed as one or more virtual machines. So we deliver an OVA file. It is multi-vendor, as I mentioned in the first slide, with over 16 vendors and more than 20 operating systems, and multi-platform. Again, routing, switching, firewall, load balancer, really across the gamut of the network layer. So moving on into the next application, Config, Drift, and Audit. It is really a dual function app, as the name implies. The Drift functionality enables you to capture the current running config from every network device that's in the Gluware system. And with that high resolution snapshot, we look at every character, essentially every line of the config, and establish a baseline. Then when you do subsequent captures that are generally daily or on some periodic basis, maybe every 12 hours, every 24, at a minimum maybe weekly or monthly, Gluware will easily and clearly identify exactly what has changed. Has there been configuration drift? So in the visual here, you have multiple network devices that have not drifted. Those configs are unchanged, and Gluware has identified a couple devices that have changed, and you can drill into the details and see exactly what has changed. So extremely useful to minimize troubleshooting time and find the needle in the haystack when you're trying to determine what has changed and why a user's experience on the network or performance or connectivity is either down or degraded. Moving on to the second part of this app is the Config Audit Engine. And so, as the name implies, this enables you to audit the configurations. The audit policies are made up of rules that are defined with native vendor CLI with regex to handle the variables that exist within, like IP addresses and VLANs and other constructs and networking config. The type of audits customers run are typically standards-based, like PCI, SOX, maybe NIST, other standard organizations that you may have to be in compliance with, as well as your company-based standards. So if you have paper-based standards and you want to understand what's implemented in my network, is it matched, you can define a policy that is based on your own company standards and audit the network. And then the third type are kind of the ad hoc audits. And with the ad hoc audits, you're essentially, maybe you get a vendor security vulnerability notification based on a certain way you've configured a device. You can enter those configuration statements and search your entire network to see if you have any devices that would violate that policy. So very useful. We like to think of it as kind of a Google search for across all your network configurations. And these audits can be executed. You can trigger them manually, or you can schedule them and operate them on a periodic basis. So moving on into the OS Manager. OS Manager is a new update over OS Update, which was OS Manager came out in our latest 3.6 release. Building off the success we've had with OS Update, OS Manager provides centralized control and automation of the firmware and software updates and downgrades and patches that are required on the network. So one of the new features of OS Manager is Gluware offers an integrated file server or system of file servers to optimize that experience of updating devices in very large networks or in different geographies. And so Gluware automates the pre-checks, the transfer of the file, and optimizes that transfer. It verifies it's in a good state before a reboot, and then there's post-checks. So Gluware really enables a reliable process to execute and enforce the operating system upgrades, downgrades, patches that are required, more and more often these days as vendors have vulnerabilities that need to be addressed with OS upgrades or patches, as well as oftentimes there are new features that are required. You need to get to those new features. You need to update your operating system to enable those features and capabilities. Moving on to config modeling. Config modeling is Gluware's technology for automating network configuration to keep the network in policy without having to actually write scripts or code. So we like to describe Gluware as a no-code automation platform. With config modeling, we leverage the current vendor CLI. Plus, we're able to kind of poke holes in that CLI to provide variables to capture user input or to actually read in variables from the network like IP addresses or VLANs, as well as to build conditional-based policy. For example, a conditional to say, if it's an access port, perform this configuration, and if it's a trunk port, do not perform this configuration. That sort of intelligence around conditionals. And so the key component of the Gluware config modeling capability is that you're able to bring in your own configuration, your own design. However, when Gluware automates it for you, the Gluware automation engine reads the current state of the configuration, it compares it to the desired state, it analyzes it, and actually can look at codependencies or other factors involved like pre-requirements. Then it will perform a declarative mode write, meaning it will only write what is required, remove what shouldn't be there, what's out of policy, and fix if anything's incorrect so that the end state is the desired state of your policy on a per feature basis, and then that is verified at the end to complete the provisioning. So again, Gluware config modeling offers this very intelligent interaction and ability to automate network configuration, and you'll see that with several use cases in the test drive. The last Gluware application to cover is workflows. Workflows are similar to the name implies, is that they enable or introduce a business level stepwise execution like wizard-based workflows for design and operate and troubleshooting type tasks. So Gluware has several workflows built in, but Gluware also provides rapid integration to take customer use cases and implement them as workflows. So you get that guided, kind of abstracted configuration to step through a configuration and execute a requirement if it's executing a new design, a configuration task, a troubleshooting, and so on. So workflows are very flexible and enable that abstraction for your network operations. So a very quick summary when you think about Gluware and what it's able to automate for you is that it automates the dynamic inventory through Device Manager in the Gluware Control Base package. Also, leveraging third-party APIs currently supporting Cisco, perform an assessment for things like end-of-life, end-of-sale, PCERT announcements for security vulnerabilities. With Drift and Audit, we perform the drift detection to highlight anything that's changed within a configuration, as well as audit configurations for standards, company-based policy, and those ad hoc audits that are extremely helpful when trying to assess something happening on your network. Finally, Gluware automates the configuration management. Probably the bread and butter of what the Gluware engine is used for and is known for is intelligent configuration management. Newly introduced in Gluware 3.6, we have the automation of Gluware of state assessment. So this is looking at operational state before and after changes, like before an OS upgrade and after, to ensure things like your BGP peers or LLDP neighbors or a particular route count are the same as they were prior to the change. So state assessment can be used pre and post change, as well as for troubleshooting purposes and many other use cases where you can automate operational procedure where today a user is likely executing a bunch of commands on the command line and manually looking at results and performing assessment. And then finally, the automation of OS management, so upgrades, downgrades, patches to plug holes, as well as enable features for your network. So in short, Gluware enables your operations and engineering to work smarter and faster and simpler on the network, enabling that centralized management, so and without programming or needing to redeploy your network within the guidelines of someone else's design. So it's really a bring your own config, bring your own design approach. As you're getting ready to run the test drive here, I thought it was important to just brief you on the environment. You're going to be hitting a URL that is demo.gluware.com, and you're going to have credentials to sign into a Gluware system. Behind the scenes, we have multiple VPOC setups. The VPOC tenants or organizations in our case, like VPOC 1, VPOC 2, 3, and so on, are a ESXi server along with multiple virtual devices running as VMs. And most of the pods have physical devices as well. And the ones here in our first kickoff here, we're using physical Cisco switches as part of that. So you will have, the Gluware system, numerous devices that are virtual, at least one physical that you will be using in the system. On the right-hand side here, you see the Gluware installation options. At a minimum, Gluware is one virtual machine when you're installing on-prem that provides the Gluware services, including the orchestrator that is serving up the web-based user interface that you're going to be experiencing. And within that orchestration engine, it has the underlying databases, which are the MongoDB and MySQL. It also has the provisioning engine. So when you think about when you are executing a discovery or a drift or an audit or configuration, and Gluware is executing on SSH connections or API connections down to network devices, it's the engines that are doing that work for you. And Gluware has two engines by default in the install, and it is more scalable. As you start to think about a larger production installation, kind of moving from lab into production, generally users go to the option where they're, in addition to the primary Gluware server, they're installing a replica or warm standby server where there's database synchronization, and if for some reason that VM crashes or something happens, you're able to use that warm standby system and you're off and running. And then third, just to touch on, is that Gluware also offers the capability of installing additional standalone Gluware engines. So when you think about needing to provide let's say drift or audit of 10,000 devices or 50,000 devices, and let's say you want to do 10,000 in under an hour, you're going to need additional engines that are going to execute that workload for you. So Gluware enables the additional capability to install as many engines as you need to meet your scale use case. So hopefully that covers some things for you and you understand a little bit more what's happening behind the scenes as you execute your test drive. And then also to quickly cover, because we're going to be jumping right into the use cases as you get started, when three main administrative tasks have been done for you already. So as you're executing the test drive, obviously the Gluware software itself has already been installed for you. Licensing and other requirements have been taken care of, so you're good there. Next is the setup of organizations or tenants. So you are going to already have an organization assigned to you, like VPOC1, and there will be a set of nodes already there for you to perform automated activities on. So you don't have to worry about adding or creating an organization and adding nodes to it. Also, the creation of the users is already done. You will be a user defined on the system, and you won't have to do any administrative tasks of adding any others or anything. So, in fact, at your credential level, which is an operational admin, you will not be able to navigate into the system settings or solution management. So these things are already done for you. The final piece of administrative work that's done for you is that Gluware as a software platform, that the major platform is released about every quarter, but then we have monthly releases of various software packages. So when we add or expand or add some capability into a vendor adapter, like we recently added Cisco ACI or Semantic Blue Coat, those packages become available and you can install them into your system on the fly. You're not having to wait for the next major release. There are software packages, as well as you build content into Gluware with your network designs and your configurations, you can import and export those packages using the solutions management. So all that is done for you. So finally, last slide here, quick next steps. First, enjoy the test drive. Hopefully it's a good experience for you and you get to see how the use cases could benefit your organization. Next is, after the test drive, we'll ask you to complete a short feedback form. Please do that for us. We want to continually improve this. Next is, please contact sales@gluware.com for further evaluation. The point of this, again, is to get you through that level 100 so you're knowledgeable of the beginning components of what Gluware is able to offer you. But I'm sure there will be challenges or things you're facing you want to understand if Gluware can help solve, and we certainly like to have that conversation and enable any further evaluation of the product. Finally, we are going to be kind of rapidly adding to this and expanding this, so check back often for additional vendors and use cases. Today it's fairly Cisco-centric. We will be adding numerous other vendors and use cases over time, so please look at that. And then it's always good to follow us on social channels. You learn about new releases, new capabilities, new partnerships. So we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube channel as well. So with that, thank you very much and enjoy the test drive.